Warning: Tongue and Geek contains heavy spoilers. If you haven't read, watched, or played the content being reviewed this episode, know that we will definitely spoil major plot points. Also, this show isn't for kids. We use words like and and it would take too much time and effort to edit them all out. Please don't tell our moms. Hello everybody, I am Isaac.
And I'm Tyler.
And we are Tongue and Geek, a couple more white guys on the internet who are going to talk about all things geeky. Tonight we are talking about Godzilla vs. Kong. I should stop talking in this announcer voice. I don't know I'm performing like this. But we're just going to jump into it.
I just rolled with it.
I just rolled with it.
I guess we should, kind of flex our, our sort of geek cred, what we like.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves a little bit more for the first episode. Let's.
For some reason, this was way easier to do with Rowlett. I don't know, maybe it's because we were face to face then.
What were you all talking about?
We were talking about music, which is his forte.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. Maybe I just have a better rapport with Rowlett.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm saving the review for Kong for later, but Tyler gets 3 out of 10 stars for being a bad friend. That's going into the final edits. Okay. Well, let's talk about ourselves for a minute. If we're gonna do this long term, hopefully, maybe. So I'm Isaac. I am another white dude on the internet talking about geeky shit. I'm sort of a jack of all trades of geekdom. I'm into comics. I'm into, sci-fi movies, superhero, love superhero stuff. I'm into video games, anime. Feel like there should be more things on that list if I'm going to be a jack of all trades. D&D, love tabletop games.
Tabletopper.
Yeah. I'm not, a super fan of really any genre. I think if I had to pick a genre, medium. If I had to pick a medium I'm the most enthusiastic about, it's probably games. But we'll see how games go down the road, because that's a little harder to review in I don't know, we'll just throw stuff in later. This is the pilot episode. All you lovely listeners at home, all 0 of you, are getting the raw experience of me and Tyler trying to figure out a podcast for the first time. Tyler?
Yeah. Yes, that is me. I'm Tyler. Isaac is my sidekick.
I prefer comedic relief.
The comedic relief, yes, to my straight man.
It's because he's straight. I don't know if we got that one. I don't know if we got that in post. Kyle, I need you to make sure that cut goes into post. I liked it better than the first take, okay? Thanks, Kyle.
We don't have a Kyle. Not yet.
You're ruining the magic, dude. We're building a Hollywood mystique.
Anyway, this is my time now.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as my focus with pop culture, I'm the movie guy. I've been the movie buff my whole life. That's primarily my main passion, is just film. But I dabble in comic books. I like reading comics. Not much of a gamer, which always gives me some raised eyebrows and some side eye when I tell people I don't game much, because I'm the demographic. But I think that'll help me bounce off with my sidekick / comic relief here, is because we
cover most of the spectrum together, I think.
Yeah, it'll be a good bouncing off thing, because I'm the movie guy, I can inform you, and you're the game guy, so you can inform me, and
yeah, you've already written a review for Godzilla vs. Kong, so this is.
I did on my new Medium account, which last time I checked stats had 9 engagements, so that's not too bad.
I'm one of them, baby.
Yeah,
I read it,
and I'm probably 2 of them because
I read it. It was a good review, and we're gonna review more here. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty. We're gonna make this an hour-long review for a movie about a giant monkey and a giant lizard fighting. Maybe 45 minutes. We'll just see how long it goes.
Yeah, we'll just wait. We'll probably get more comfortable with this as we go along, because for some reason I think we're nervous. I don't know why, but I'm getting that feeling. But anyway, I guess I guess a little background as far as my fandom with Godzilla, Kong, and the kaiju genre in general. I was a fan of it as a kid. I really loved watching the old Godzilla movies as a kid when they would come on TV. Every once in a while, my mom would rent me one from Blockbuster. I remember I had a bunch of Godzilla toys back in the mid '90s that I loved and wore out because I played with them so much. But, when you're a kid, sometimes interests wane, you focus on something else, and things fall by the wayside. So for a while there, I was kind of Godzilla dry. And then a shout-out to a famous content creator here, James Rolfe, a.k.a. the Angry Video Game Nerd. He has a very popular series in October called Monster Madness, where he reviews horror for Halloween and stuff. And one month...
Yeah, milk that celebrity. Milk that celebrity. Hey, you all know this other famous person? We're going to talk about them to make us seem more interesting. Yeah,
I mean, I honestly have no ulterior motive here. I'm just I'm just rambling. But anyway, the Angry Video Game Nerd hit us up, endorse us. He did a Godzilla-thon way back in the day, and they were really entertaining and fun. I'm like, these look... I remember some of these. They look really fun. Maybe I should watch some again. And I did, and from there, it's become one of my favorite genres, one of my favorite comfort watches. They're fun. They're a different flavor than most Western fantasy action blockbusters.
Yeah, it's Big Monster. Everybody loves Big Monster.
And I like how they just go all in on just making you embrace the silliness of it. It's a guy in a big, heavy rubber suit, mostly sometimes fighting another person in a big rubber suit in elaborate sets of cities and countrysides, and just the practicality of it, how everything is
so fun. It's got to be so fun running around in those, just knocking those big model cities down. I would love to be the guy in the suit.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an arduous task, though.
Oh, I'm sure he melts. I'm sure he just melts in those things. If
I was a smarter podcaster, I probably would have taken notes with some fun trivia, but the Godzilla suits usually weigh this much, and da-da-da, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, they're made out of real fish.
Yes. I do know that there's usually eye holes and breathy holes in the neck of the suit for the person to see out of.
Ah.
If only you could. Sometimes, if you're eagle-eyed and you pay attention to the action scenes, you can kind of sometimes see the holes in Godzilla's neck, which is
everybody really pay attention for Godzilla's holes in the next film.
When you watch them a lot, you just you there's the strings. Never noticed those before. There's. Yeah. There's the holes in Godzilla. There's just breathy holes in his neck, How
about the Kong movies? What's your background with Kong?
My background with Kong, I guess it's more extensive than Godzilla because I've always been a fan of Kong.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Western kaiju, for the lack of a better term. Without the original King Kong from 1933, probably wouldn't have Godzilla. I guess you can kind of compare him to Godzilla in a lot of ways, not just because he's a big monster, but because he's endured through pop culture for so long.
Yeah.
He's one of the most recognizable non-human characters in film history.
It's hard to not recognize, hey, that's a big gorilla. And
well, yeah.
Also inspired a bunch of Donkey Kong, all kinds of Kongs.
Yeah, Donkey Kong. And there's a whole genre of King Kong ripoffs. Japan made their own King Kong ripoffs. Unfortunately, they were lost to time, though. You can't really find them because, they're lost. So yeah,
they're on the internet somewhere. They'll show up. We'll find them. Don't worry about it. My personal promise to you listeners is that Tyler and I will find and review every Kong movie ever made through the power.
The concept of a lost film, Isaac, is that they don't exist anymore.
No.
That's the point.
No, nothing. In the age of the internet, everything still exists. The Library of Alexandria, we got that somewhere. It's in the black market. You just got to know where to look.
Maybe it's all in the Hollow Earth. Foreshadowing.
Before we jump into first off, Fucking spoilers. We didn't even tell people this is going to be a spoiler review yet.
Oh,
Yeah, this is a spoiler review.
The movie has already been out for a week, and in the age of the internet, that's like fucking old news. Oop, I cursed. That's old news.
I did too. It's okay. Don't tell my mom about this podcast. In fact, that's our tagline. Don't tell my mom. Don't tell my mom. That's going to be our outro. Let me get into hang on. My background.
Yeah.
Because you're not the only person on this podcast, you know. There's two people here.
I was just going to say, let's talk about how you got into...
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for setting me up, and I'm sorry for harshly shutting down my setup. So my background with Godzilla is almost non-existent until maybe a couple of years ago. So when I was a little kid, I saw... This isn't Godzilla, but I saw a Gamera movie. It's the one with the big knife-faced shark-looking thing.
Giron.
Yeah, Giron. I saw that one, and it was like the crappy English dub of that. So I remember that when I was maybe like 10 at the oldest, probably even younger. With Kong, I saw the original maybe once when I was real little, and then I saw like the Peter Jackson remake whenever it came out. And I remember just being like, man, there is not a lot of giant monkey in this like 4-hour epic movie. There's a lot of big...
There is once you get past the first hour.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I was like a 10-year-old boy. I couldn't sit through the first hour. I was like, why are they still on a boat? Just get to the big monkey. But I think I need to rewatch that one because it's been a while. But I remember liking it more on my second or third viewing.
I'm a big defender of that film. So yes, I would love to watch it with you.
Fun fact: one of my friends, well, not friends, like an acquaintance, actually. Said that he wanted to go see that movie for his birthday, and like I wasn't part of that birthday party group because, like I said, we were just acquaintances. But I remember everybody who went on to that party coming back and just being like, "That was the worst birthday I ever had." We sat in a movie theater for 4 hours. Like,
it's not 4 hours; it's only
3.5 or something. It's long.
I mean, I will make you watch the extended cut.
Oh my lord. Yeah.
But the extended cut, luckily for us, has more monster stuff in it.
It's Lord of the Rings with a gigantic monkey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Peter Jackson movie. So.
But anyway, so that's my background with Kong. With Godzilla, I saw the 2014 Godzilla. I actually way back, I saw like the crappy 90s American Godzilla, and that was like the only thing I knew about Godzilla for the longest time. Then I saw like, you know, there's parodies of Godzilla and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, Godzilla's a thing. But then 2014 Godzilla came out, and I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. Big lizard wrecking the city and stuff. If only there was more than 8 literal minutes of him on the screen. So that came out, and then you and I started watching the Godzilla movies. We watched a few of them, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah, back when King of the Monsters came out.
Yeah, before King of the Monsters.
Yeah, it's kind of hyped for that.
And then recently, for Godzilla vs. Kong, we watched, like, basically, just over the past couple months, we've watched through the entire, what's that era called? The one that
The Heisei era.
Heisei era. We watched all of them except for Space Godzilla, which, I'm gonna rat out Tyler here. He says he hates Space Godzilla.
That is a complete lie. I don't hate it at all. I think it's decent. But I just wanted to get to Godzilla vs. Destroyer, like, as soon as possible because I wanted Isaac to experience one of the best Godzilla movies.
So there you go. Tyler likes Destroyer more than Space Godzilla.
That is not a controversial opinion at all.
You can fight him
if you knew the Godzilla fandom, you would know that.
You can find him in the comments, Space Godzilla fans. So yeah, I've watched through that era of the movies. I've watched Shin Godzilla, which was awesome. Big fan of the legendary MonsterVerse. Should we talk a little bit about the MonsterVerse before we get into GVK? I mean, we're not going to do like a full review of them.
I kind of want to very briefly flex a little bit of my knowledge on the original Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay.
And then I guess we can get to the MonsterVerse, and then finally into the actual movie we want to review.
Flex that big nerd brain, baby.
The original Godzilla.
4 seconds of silence.
The original Godzilla vs. Kong, which came out in '62, I believe. Mm-hmm. Fact check me on that.
I won't because my microphone's going to pick up the typing, so I'm not making any noise.
Back in the day.
You know what? Real quick, fans, all of the people listening, none of you, we're going to start a new segment here on the next episode called Actually, where you will correct us on anything we get wrong by saying actually, and then emailing it to a non-existent email box that we will come up with later.
Good call on that.
Yeah, gotta market
I
that
like
shit.
the confidence in your... Yeah.
Gotta make this stuff marketable. Go ahead.
Anyway, you interrupting Nelly.
We don't curse on this
I was right.
fucking podcast.
I was right. 1962 was the original King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah.
For those not in the know, it's actually the third movie that Godzilla appeared in, so it's fairly early on in his cinematic journey. And believe it or not, at that point, he wasn't really all that popular, which is kind of hard to think about if you're at all familiar with if you're at all a fan of the franchise. Like, he's just ubiquitous, Godzilla's Godzilla.
Yeah, or even if you're not, he's a gigantic radioactive lizard. Everybody knows Godzilla.
But the original film that came out in 1954 was a hit. They were kind of late to the game getting a sequel out. Actually, no, they weren't late to the game. They rushed the sequel, and it wasn't that big of a hit. Nobody really liked it, and that kind of kept him dormant for a while. And then I believe the story goes they wanted King Kong, who they had finagled some of the rights from America for, to fight a giant version of Frankenstein's monster. So the original concept was for King Kong to fight a giant Frankenstein's monster, and they couldn't quite lock down the rights and license Frankenstein, so let's just use Godzilla instead. And because that movie in 1962 was a success, that is actually what launched the franchise for Godzilla properly.
Which is hilarious because Kong has not really had a franchise. He's been recognizable, remakes and stuff, but not really a series of any kind that anybody, at least none that I can think of.
There is a sequel to the original film called Son of Kong that was made and released within a year of the original coming out, which is insane. And then there is the remake that came out in 1976, starring Jeff Bridges in one of his earlier roles. It has its fans. I think it's dull as dirt. And then there's there's a sequel to that, too. They came out a decade after, which has Linda Hamilton in it from The Terminator. Sarah Connor's in it.
Oh.
And I used to watch that all the time. It came on all the time as a kid on TV. And it's called King Kong Lives. And the only thing I remember about it now is that there's a female Kong, and she has monkey tits.
Oh, boy.
And I always remember that making me feel slightly uncomfortable as a child.
That's wonderful.
This giant rubber-suited female gorilla with droopy gorilla titties.
I don't know how anatomically incorrect that necessarily is, because they are mammals and primates, but, why do you need that?
It doesn't have the best reputation. It's kind of a forgotten movie.
What demographic are you appealing to with saggy rubber suit monkey tits?
I don't know. I really want to watch it again because it's been a lifetime since I've seen it.
Put it on the list. We got a whole list of stuff that we gotta.
And I know it's just a schlocky, not very well made movie. But I have a feeling, since I am a lover of schlock, that I will actually find some charm in it. So yeah,
a schlock lover.
I'll dig it up. I think that was an innuendo, but I'll ignore it.
Anyway,
I'll ignore it.
A lot of this was us just kind of rambling at the start, but we're already running over 20-some minutes, so we should probably...
See, time flies when you're having fun. I think we've already lost any audience we might have gained.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Obnoxious.
That's fine. People love obnoxious people. Look at all the obnoxious celebrities that... freaking Owen Wilson is just wow, that's my whole personality. He's like, oh, wow. And he's a multimillionaire.
You just canceled us.
Okay, great.
Canceled us by making fun of Owen Wilson and his voice.
I didn't say any terrible racist jokes or anything. I just said Owen Wilson goes, wow. If that gets us canceled, we were never gonna make it. We were never gonna make it.
We'll edit it in post.
Owen Wilson, this is our formal apology. I never meant to say that you go, wow. I've always loved the way that you say wow. It's an important word in the English lexicon, and I think you've really contributed to the way it's pronounced. Anyway,
let's get back on.
Let's get back on track. Godzilla vs. Kong.
Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it's poetic that the original movie that came out in '62 launched Godzilla into pop culture, iconography. And the new one that just came out is the movie that is responsible for starting the revival of the box office. It made the most money so far of any movie that's been released during the global pandemic we are still currently in.
Demonetized. I mean, if we were on YouTube, you can't say words pandemic or COVID or anything.
I know.
We gotta find our own word for it, like the Game Grumps did. Hey, another group that talks and does funny things that people like. Hey, market us, please.
So just Godzilla and Kong together, they seem like they're kind of the dream team.
Yes. I mean, who doesn't want to watch like two of the most recognizable icons of of movies just on the big screen together, and especially when they're gigantic monsters that beat the crap out of each other.
And boy, do they ever.
Oh.
So, quick refresh thought of the Monsterverse up to this point, and then we'll actually get into the frickin' movie properly.
Okay. Do you want to cover it, or you want me to?
I'll start.
Okay.
Because I know your whole thing about... I was incredibly stoked for the 2014 Godzilla. It has some of the best trailers I think I've ever seen. They're incredible. Go to see the movie. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. But I think it has some severe flaws narratively that hold it back, and I don't have a problem so much with the limited screen time Godzilla has.
It's 8 minutes. We looked it up on YouTube. It is literally 8 minutes of screen time.
It is. But believe it or not, he doesn't have much more screen time in King of the Monsters. It's just he's integrated throughout the story better.
Yeah, and there's also 4 other monsters to follow.
True.
In this one, there's just the Mutos, which also get 3 minutes of screen time.
I think they're in it far more than Godzilla, actually. But anyway, I still think it's a decent movie. I think what it does best is, especially on the big screen, it captures the sense of scale of giant monsters really well. There are a lot of shots still that, just the way they're composed, the way they're lit, the effects, you're just like, damn, that's a giant monster. That's impressive. That's scary. That's intimidating. I think that's the movie's biggest strength.
That movie gets props from me exclusively for the Godzilla spitting in the Muto's mouth scene. That is the most badass thing. It's one of the most badass kills in the Monsterverse so far, I think. Just him ripping that thing's mouth open and just atomic breathing down into its esophagus. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's metal as shit. It's one of the coolest finishers of any kaiju movie I can think of.
Yeah. To
be honest, it might take a while to get going. It may have a boring lead character, but it knows how to make you pump your fist when it counts. I remember when they're fighting in the city at the end, and Godzilla's not doing too hot, and then the camera, focuses on his tail, and you see the blue light slowly start building from the tail all the way up to his dorsal fins, and you're like, oh shit, here it comes.
It does a good job of build up. Yeah.
And then he just he lets it loose.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stand up and cheer moments in the finale of that movie that I appreciate.
Watch the 8 minutes of it on YouTube. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Kong Skull Island. Let's make this.
Kong Skull Island.
We gotta get through these, man. We're at almost the 30-minute mark, and we haven't even touched Godzilla vs. Kong.
Kong Skull Island, really enjoy it. Overall, it's a better movie than Godzilla 2014 as far as narrative and character. None of the characters are really all that fleshed out, but most of them are entertaining. The character that John C. Reilly plays, the World War II veteran that crash-landed on Skull Island in the 40s.
This one feels like the one that does the best with the celebrities it has. There's a lot of celebrities in these movies, but a lot of them just feel like, oh, that's a celebrity I know, with a dumb script to read. Whereas the ones in Kong Skull Island, you got Sam Jackson in there, and he's the renegade, lieutenant or corporal or whatever. And then there's Tom Hiddleston's a weird badass action hero, which is kind of I only really know him much from Loki in the MCU, but he kind of does the action hero role pretty well. This one feels like more of like a traditional action movie where like here's an icon of the screen that you know, and we're just going to kind of have fun with them for a little while.
Yeah, and what makes it work is that it's a really fresh take on the character of King Kong.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing. Kong is an actual character instead of just a big force of destruction. Like, you can see Kong, like, having feelings and thoughts and emotions going on. Like, they do a great job expressing all of that through the CGI. Like, he feels like he's there.
Yeah, agreed. And it has gorgeous visuals. It's eye candy through and through, that movie. Just saturated, just deep orange sunsets and popping greens of the jungle and all the colorful creatures that appear throughout the movie. The action's very stylized. It's very entertaining, and it probably has the best human characters of the MonsterVerse so far. And if any kaiju fans happen to listen to this, you know that the human characters in these movies are always just a sticking point for fans. Just, does it take too long to get to the monsters? Are they boring? Do I care? I think Kong Skull Island does it the best. So, King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters!
King of the Monsters. Like Godzilla 2014, I was hyped as hell for this. Because it
actually lived up to the hype, though.
It lived up to the hype, bearing the lead there, but yes, it lived up to the hype. Just the fact that we were getting not only Godzilla, but King Ghidorah,
the King,
Rodan.
Baby. King Ghidorah's my favorite. I love me a big dragon. Big
King
electric
Ghidorah,
dragon. Beautiful.
Mothra, Rodan, all together in a Hollywood big budget event film. Just, it's the kind of thing that, you know, when you've been a fan of this stuff for a while, that you dream of happening and you don't think it's gonna, then it ends up happening. You're just like, oh my god, they did it.
It's like the kaiju equivalent of like the Avengers. It's like, hey, here's a big budget blockbuster movie with great CGI and big action fights between all of these recognizable icons. It's like, I want that for pure spectacle alone.
You can kind of call it that's a pretty apt description. You know, it's kind of the Avengers of the Godzilla franchise.
I would also say that this is like the most spectacle of the MonsterVerse, probably. Like, this is the one where it's like, yeah, you're here for the big monsters beating the crap out of each other. Like, that's what any kaiju movie is really about anyway, but like, the human plot is literally just a mechanism to get us to the next big monster fight. Yeah,
and in that, the humans in King of the Monsters don't bother me. I think they serve their purpose.
I love the plot in King of the Monsters.
I know you do.
The eco-terrorist lady who is like, I have never been more sane, after she says that she wants to destroy humanity with giant monsters to fix the ecosystem. I died in theaters when I saw that for the first time. And my favorite part is like, the eco-terrorists win. They get exactly what they want in the end. It's like, hey, we want giant monsters to come out and wreck the world and fix the environment. And that's what happens. Like,
you can definitely say that the messaging of the movie doesn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah, who cares about the moral?
But the movie tries to ground the human side in, you know, a little bit of character development, a little bit of symbolism. You know, the Dr. Serizawa character talks about how, like, pain and anger is like a dragon you must overcome, and the father character in that movie, who hates Godzilla for killing his son during the events of the 2014 movie, like, Godzilla is his dragon. It's pretty obvious symbolism, but it's there nonetheless. They tried, you know.
And also the heavy-handed environmental message that makes no sense. That's like, hey, what if we let big nuclear dragons run around the Earth? That would fix all of our problems.
Hey, you know what? Don't knock it till you tried it.
I did try it, and let me tell you, I loved it. Here's a hot take from me. The line between ironic and sincere enjoyment is almost invisibly thin. I watch things and I will say, that is so stupid, and I will love it. And it would not just be like, oh, I love it because haha, it's so stupid. It's like, I am having a genuinely good time with how dumb this thing is and how seriously it's taking itself. Like, I'm absolutely in that state of mind. But yeah, King of the Monsters, big spectacle. We talked about the plot a lot. The actual monsters themselves, beautiful. Mothra is amazing. Yeah. There's like so many, like, you could pause that movie anytime a monster's on screen and you would have like a metal album cover. Like, all of it.
Yeah. I was going to make that same point. There's, I talked about how visually pleasing and incredible Kong Skull Island is, and it is, but like King of the Monsters, like, ups the ante. Like, some people complain, like, oh, so much of it takes place at night, and there's so much, like, particulate in the atmosphere, and it obscures the action. And I'm like, I don't know where that complaint's coming from, because at no point in that movie do I think anything is unclear visually.
You can absolutely, and it works better.
It's just atmospheric.
It works because those creatures are glowing too. Like, they've got a glow to them that, like, it works better in the dark.
Yeah, like, they knew what they wanted to play up the majesty and the scale and the power of these monsters, and they do it to the hilt. And like you said, like, there were certain shots in this movie. You pause it, it's like they almost look like a Baroque Renaissance painting because they're so, like, moody and atmospheric and dark.
Ghidorah,
like,
on top of that volcano shooting the lightning out. God, such a good shot.
Rodan coming out of his volcano, and the shot of
Mothra from the waterfall.
My favorite shot in the whole movie is Ghidorah taking Godzilla up into the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Just the look of the clouds and everything in that shot, like, that's a black metal album from, like, Norway right there. That shot, it's like but yeah,
King of the Monsters, great. We love this franchise. We need to get to Godzilla vs. Kong.
We do.
We are almost.
Hey, you know what? We're having fun. If we're having fun, our hypothetical audience will have fun too.
Our hypothetical audience that we haven't even determined what platform that we're going to release this on. This is the pilot episode, people. You're getting all of the raw details that we maybe will edit out, probably won't. Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes.
First impressions, Tyler.
First impressions. Just incredibly, ridiculously fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree.
It's you can track the uptick in ridiculousness through all four movies. The first movie, the first Godzilla 2014, grounded, relatively realistic, as grounded and realistic as a movie about giant monster can be. Kong Skull Island comes out. It's a bit more comic book. It's a bit more fun and plucky and colorful. King of the Monsters comes out. The plot even more silly and fantastical, even more colorful. And then we get the Godzilla vs. Kong, and it's a complete cartoon. And I mean that in the best way possible.
Absolutely. It is bonkers from start to end, and it's wonderful.
It just throws endless high concept, just insane sci-fi ideas at you, and doesn't bother explaining much of it. It's just like, here it is, enjoy it, take it as it is. If you don't like it, oh well, but this is what we're doing, and I hope you have fun.
Let's do a recap real quick. So Kong Skull Island starts out with a conspiracy theorist podcast guy talking about how Godzilla
You said Kong Skull Island, Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh, Godzilla vs. Kong, sorry. I hear Kong. I want to put Kong first for some reason, and then whenever I do that, I catch myself, but I catch myself in the wrong way, and I just say the title of a different movie. So my brain goes in 14 different directions. Godzilla vs. Kong starts out with a podcast conspiracy theorist dude who's like, hey, there's something crazy going on at this big corporation. I'm going to find out what it is. And then Godzilla shows up and destroys the corporation for seemingly no reason, but like, he's Godzilla. He can do whatever he wants. We find out that Kong has been stuck on the island and that a gigantic storm has killed all of the native peoples, which I actually... One complaint about this movie, and it's a weirdly serious complaint I have that I had to think on a little bit later. It's kind kind of upsetting that they just eradicate an entire like indigenous people for the sake of plot convenience. It's a little colonialist.
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of thought the same thing.
It's a little messed up.
I don't want to bring like real world political discussion into a movie so fantastical.
But it's a little messed up that they just killed a whole indigenous people because hey, we couldn't figure out how to fit them into this plot. It's a little. It is,
and it's a line of dialogue that just comes and goes. Like the tribe, because every Godzilla movie needs the tribe of people. They were called the Iwis in this universe, and there's just a line of dialogue where it's like, and the storm came and like wiped out all the Iwis,
except for one, except for the little girl.
Yeah, a little girl who has a very cute and sincere connection to Kong. Yeah. But it's kind of like, it's like, ooh, the whole tribe, like,
Yeah, you couldn't say they relocated or anything, like,
or like some of them went underground to like avoid
or have them work with the scientists to help protect Kong, or okay, we're just gonna kill them all.
Yeah, it's kind of a tone-deaf decision for the sake of plot convenience. It's not a movie killer. It's just kind of an odd narrative choice that maybe should have been thought out.
Maybe don't use genocide for plot points, Hollywood. But anyway, continuing on, Kong now is in a gigantic like dome thing that they somemew built around him. Which here's the
containment unit.
Here's the first plot hole: how'd they get a gigantic monkey inside a gigantic containment unit? But whatever, we're moving right along.
It's not a plot hole. It's just, like, later on in the movie, they use tranquilizers. They probably tranked him, kept him docile.
That's another thing. I want to know what they're tranking, like, a 400-ton gorilla with. What substance can you put in an animal that big to knock it out? You'd have to put, like, straight arsenic into his veins to have any effect.
They're a decades-old organization dedicated to studying the Titans, which is what the monsters are called in this universe, the Titans.
Yeah, they
probably figured it out pretty easily.
They got magic tech at this point anyway. But anyway, plot continuing. Some guy shows up and is like, hey, we gotta get to the center of the Earth, because it turns out the Earth is
hollow Earth, which was confirmed in King of the Monsters.
It was confirmed in King of the Monsters. But they have to get to the center of the Earth to find what was the reason? They wanted to find a way to kill Godzilla because Godzilla is going on a rampage again?
See, it doesn't bode well that we can't get the plot straight.
Well, it doesn't matter.
For a movie that we're praising.
We love this movie, and the plot doesn't matter as long as we get to the big monster.
The plot is convoluted but simple at the same time, which kind of blows my mind, but no.
Anyway, they put Godzilla on a boat, or they put Kong on a boat, and they take him towards Antarctica, where there's apparently a portal to the center of the Earth. Godzilla shows up, they have a big fight on the water. God, the water fight is like, I think that might be the most tense fight in the Monsterverse so far.
Agreed.
Let's gush over the water fight.
Okay. So, long story short, the plot, the nuance of the plot doesn't matter. There's machinations from an evil corporation called Apex. They're up to something. Monarch is studying Kong, and they want to try to get him to the Hollow Earth, and Godzilla wants to start shit with Kong because he's the Apex. See what they did there, Apex. He's the king of the monsters. He wants to assert his dominance, and Monarch wants to keep Kong away from Godzilla so Godzilla doesn't kill him.
Yeah, and Apex
Thus
is
you
building
have
Mecha Godzilla. Apex is building Mecha Godzilla out of King Ghidorah's skull.
And that's why Godzilla is pissed.
They're using King Ghidorah's skull to make Mechagodzilla, and it goes rogue by a space ghost dragon that controls it. And there's a big fight at the end with it, and it's amazing. So that's the plot.
That's the plot.
Plot stupid, doesn't matter. Water fight. I want to talk about that because it's amazing.
Yes, the fight on the ocean. It's the first big set piece of the movie, and it's fantastically well choreographed and shot for all the elements it has in play. Boats, the ocean. You can see everything. Everything is perfectly clear. It's perfectly shot, and it actually builds genuine tension and suspense. Because at this point in the story, you already care about Kong. He's the main character.
Yes. Okay, let's address that real quick, because a lot of internet fanboys are like, a big monkey isn't good enough for this fight. It's like, the entire point of this movie is that Kong is the underdog that you're supposed to root for. Like, he's supposed to be weaker than Godzilla. You're supposed to want him to win because it seems like such an impossible thing. And
yeah, you're supposed to be scared for him. That's the point.
Yeah, and he's got, like, so much personality to him that, like, they do a great job of giving him this relationship with the deaf girl. He knows, like, sign language. There's so much just emotion on his face. He has, like, this whole arc where he wants to find his family. Like,
it's genuinely touching.
He's a character, and Godzilla's a dick.
Godzilla's a dick. Yeah,
he's such an asshole in this movie. He just shows up and beats up Kong for no reason other than, hey, you're big and I don't like you. You haven't said that I'm your king yet. I'm gonna beat your ass.
You need to know your place.
Learn your place, trash. Like, that's Godzilla's whole motivation, is just beating the crap out of Kong so he knows who's in charge. And it works great.
Yeah, it completely fits both characters, because Godzilla's been known as the king of the monsters for over 60 years, and they play to that. Like, he beat King Ghidorah at the end of King of the Monsters, took the throne, quote unquote, as it were, and he's going to be damned if some young upstart from Skull Island could potentially pose a threat to that throne. So.
And the water fight exemplifies that best, because, like, Godzilla is absolutely in his element, and I didn't even know that Kong could. Cool. I didn't even know Kong could swim until he fell in the water. Like, the whole time before he even fell in, I was like, "Oh my god, he is gonna drown the second his feet touch water." Like, there is no way this will go well for him. Turns out he can swim, but, like, he gets his butt kicked by Godzilla in that fight. Like,
it's.
Monarch has to shoot missiles and stuff, and just Kong has to get a lot of help from Monarch to even stand a chance in, like, to survive the fight.
Yeah, they have him chained to the deck of the ship, of course, and when it capsizes and he's still chained up and he starts drowning, like, it's actually like, oh Jesus, like, get away from those chains, break those chains, hurry up, because you see him, like, he's gasping for breath, he's struggling, he's panicking.
Godzilla pulls him down into the bottom of the ocean at one point, and they have to drop they have to drop depth charges to, like, get Kong away from, like, it's so tense. Like, the whole time you're like, man, this movie's gonna be over in 30 minutes. Like, Kong's gonna die here.
And seeing Godzilla act like a predator is really cool, because it actually it makes him scary again. Like,
it literally does feel
like a crocodile and a shark mixed together. The way he moves, and he's terrifying.
It feels like one of those nature documentaries where you see, like, a crocodile get a hold of a chimpanzee or something, and you're like, oh my god, get the chimp away from that thing. Like, it's like, there's so much tension in seeing this, like, big apex predator just attack this animal that you were like, oh man, I've become so endeared to this thing.
And just so much of the eye candy, you just can't take your eyes off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Kong jumping from ship to ship, hopscotching to ship to, like, get a better, advantage.
Get away from it. Godzilla
get away from
Godzilla. One of them. Yeah.
I love that little moment where there's, like, one jet on the runway, and Kong picks it up, and there's still a pilot in it, and, like, it's like, oh god, poor pilot, and then he ejects in the last minute, and then the jet explodes on Godzilla's back. Just little moments like that, little ways to make the fight have personality, and it's not just two CGI things clashing for 10 minutes.
That's what this franchise, I think, does great, is that, like, so many people complain about, like, MCU and even, like, DCU movies, like, action scene, their CGI action scenes having no, like, they all kind of blend together. It just ends up being, like, one big CGI fight against a faceless enemy. None of these movies have that, and especially not in Godzilla versus Kong, because, like, every fight has all of these different, like, so many different forms of action going on. Like, there's the big monsters hitting each other, then Godzilla will shoot, like, a beam, and then Kong will have to, like, jump out of the way or dodge behind buildings and stuff. There's, like, so much different things going on in the action scenes. It's not just, hey, we're gonna hit each other until one of us falls down. Yeah.
There was a lot of thought in building and planning and executing the fights in this movie. It's not just, they slap each other around and that's it. Move on to the next scene. The director, Adam Wingard, he got his start in horror movies, and he said one of his biggest inspirations for Kong as a character in this movie was John McClane from Die Hard.
I can see it.
And you can totally see it, because John McClane, what's he famous for? He's like, he's just a regular guy, wrong place, the wrong time, doing his best. He gets his ass kicked the whole movie, but he's still trucking on. He's still doing what he's got to do, and that's Godzilla throughout that's Kong throughout this whole movie. He's just trying to save his ass really the whole time.
He really is just trying to survive the film. Like Monarch just screwed him over. They're just like, hey, we're just gonna drag you around and hope that Godzilla doesn't murder you along the way. And Kong's like, can I at least find my family? And the movie's like, no, here's an axe instead.
Yeah, let's talk about the whole segment with Hollow Earth.
Yeah, okay, so after the big water fight, Kong has to, play dead in order to even survive. Godzilla's like, okay, I killed him, and then he leaves. They get to Antarctica, they go through into the Hollow Earth. Hollow Earth is really cool, by the way. It's there's parts of it that's above and below, because it's the inside of the Earth, but it's this whole big mountainous region where you can be like, yeah, I could totally see giant monsters living in this space. We find out that Kong is actually from an advanced race of gorillas that had statues and thrones and whole architecture,
temples and
a radioactive axe made out of a Godzilla species dorsal fin.
Yep.
Which is really crazy. They were clearly the smartest of the Titans, and that's how they survived. Or I guess they didn't really survive so long because none of them are left. But Godzilla gets the big radioactive axe. Or Kong, sorry. It's the O sound. It's the ah. We keep hearing, Kong, Godzilla, and it's, I get the names mixed up.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll just have Godzilla, Kong. There, we'll use that in post every time we get one of the names wrong. But Kong gets the axe. Meanwhile, up on the surface... Okay, here's another complaint I have with the movie. The human plots usually are stupid and pointless, but they're at least using it to move the plot along. Here we have two different human plots. One of them with the people trying to get Kong to the Hollow Earth, and one of them with the conspiracy theorist guy and the girl from Stranger Things who was in King of the Monsters.
Her name is
Millie Bobby Brown.
Name is Madison.
Madison, aka Millie Bobby Brown, the actress, and the kid from Deadpool 2. All of them are going to figure out what that Apex company is doing. Turns out they're building Mechagodzilla to try and kill Godzilla. Which, hey, another thing real quick before I finish this sidebar. I'm going to put another sidebar in there. The whole reason they wanted to make Mechagodzilla was to, defend humanity from Godzilla, and they frame it like a bad thing. They're you're a bad guy for wanting to kill Godzilla. All he's done is destroy multiple cities and kill thousands of people. How dare you try and kill Godzilla?
Well, the implication is, and the way that the story's been presented to us, is that, yeah, Godzilla has caused a lot of damage, but he's never acted maliciously toward humanity.
I don't give a shit what his intentions are. He's killed so many people.
Yeah, but
they frame him like a savior, and he's not at most he's a neutral party who's oh yeah, there's people here while I'm kicking Ghidorah's ass.
Yeah, the neutral. Well, that's the thing. Every other threat that's not Godzilla is a bigger threat. The Mutos were going to propagate and overrun the Earth. So they are a far bigger threat than Godzilla. Ghidorah was going to control all the monsters as the alpha, take over the Earth. Godzilla was the only one who could stop it. So the other monsters have actual... malicious isn't the right word, I guess, because that applies too much of a human aspect to them. But they had more of an openly obvious destructive motivation.
Okay, wonderful.
Godzilla doesn't. That's the justification narratively as to why humanity is on Godzilla's side, is because he's not coming out of the ocean on his own free will to destroy our cities every
until
other
he
day.
does in this one, because
because humanity oversteps its bounds and starts creating Mechagodzilla.
But if you told me I had the option between dying of a nuclear blast or mustard gas, I wouldn't tell you which one of those I would prefer. I would be like, is not dying an option? But anyway, that's a sidebar within a sidebar. The original sidebar was the plot with Millie Bobby Brown and the conspiracy guy and all those people. It's so boring and pointless. They could have just cut this out entirely, because the entire reason for it is just to introduce the fact that, hey, they're making Mechagodzilla, and you could have just said, hey, we're making Mechagodzilla to deal with Godzilla, and that would have worked, instead of having like a whole side plot with characters who don't really do anything. They just they show up, they get caught, and then they do something with like a computer that freezes Mechagodzilla for a second in the final fight, but like it's not really important, and they could have just left it out entirely. Like the fact that they had two bad,
definitely is the weakest aspect of the movie.
Like if it was just one of these human subplots, it would have been like tolerable, because hey, all these human subplots are pointless. But like the fact that they had two of these and this one was clearly more pointless is like, okay, this stands out. But back to the Hollow Earth. It's cool. All that stuff going on in the Hollow Earth is cool. Godzilla senses Kong. That's another thing. Godzilla has like a weird like psychic sense for Kong in this movie, but it kind of works because it makes the fights keep happening.
Well, we're missing a plot point here. Sidebar. I want to just talk about how absolutely phenomenally gorgeous and well executed the Hollow Earth sequence is. Like, it's fantastic looking. It's like wondrous and kind of mindfucky in how it's designed.
The gravity keeps switching. Like if you get too close to another side, like you flip gravity. That's cool.
It's awe-inspiring. It has like little touches of like movie magic with like Kong discovering anti-gravity and just, jumping into anti-gravity for a minute and like inverting. And it's a really, really awesome sequence with like some really well executed visual effects.
The CGI in these movies do not get enough credit. They are some of the best like detailed CGI films, blockbusters like on the market today.
I agree.
They're beautiful.
We talked about it before. How because CGI is so ubiquitous in blockbusters now, like it's everywhere. We're so used to it that we take it for granted and we don't recognize really excellent CGI when it happens because we're just so used to it.
Yeah, but
the amount of effects that are in this movie and the amount of screen time that King Kong has specifically, like he's the lead character. Like I want to know like how much screen time he has compared to some of the humans. If it's not actually a little bit more, it's equal. That's a lot of rendering. That's a lot of computing power and detail that you have to keep. Like it's really impressive.
A lot of talent went into making this movie. Hollow Earth is badass. There was an evil girl. I don't even really remember what she was doing there on the
she was the daughter of the main.
That's right.
The villains are meh.
That's another thing.
The villains are incredibly meh.
The villains in this movie are laughably pointless. Like one of them dies. The daughter of like the main villain dies because Kong catches like the ship she was escaping on, and he just crushes it in his bare hand. And it's like
great moment,
but it's like okay, wow,
wasted on a nothing character.
The main villain who's building Mechagodzilla literally shows up for like 2 scenes. The first to like send the people to the Hollow Earth, and the second to like have his little monologue with Mechagodzilla, and he gets interrupted halfway through when, I don't think we necessarily touched on this. Mechagodzilla is being controlled Jaeger style with the skull of Ghidorah, which is badass as hell because it's, hey, we're using a space dragon ghost to control this thing, but it immediately takes over Mechagodzilla and just like goes against the humans and kills the main villain.
Which I really appreciate.
I do appreciate that because it's like, okay, we knew this human villain was literally just here to set up another fight, so we're just going to kill him off real fast.
Yeah, it's almost like the movie knew. It's almost like the movie was self-aware enough to be like, the human villains, who cares? Like, get him out of the way. Like,
get him out of the way.
They literally interrupt him monologuing to have Mechagodzilla kill him.
We got a cool
which is hilarious.
We got Ghidorah in Mechagodzilla now, which is way more interesting and way more fun.
Such a fun plot development.
I'm glad they brought that, because that was the plot point in King of the Monsters, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna make Mecha Ghidorah and stuff." That's what I was thinking, at least. But like, I'm glad they brought him back from Mechagodzilla. That works a little better, even, I think.
Because like, at the end of the day, he's still kind of the main villain. Like, he's in the body of a mechanical Godzilla, but it's still Ghidorah.
It's still Ghidorah, baby. It's
and he's pissed. And he's really pissed.
He's real pissed.
Because
he wrecked some shit in Hong Kong.
Before we get to the Mechagodzilla fight.
Yes, the actual Kong versus Godzilla fight in Hong Kong.
Yes.
This fight, the one in Hong Kong, I think is the most beautiful fight in the series. Hong Kong is like there have been a lot of cities that they've wrecked across these movies. Hong Kong is so beautiful with all like the neon lights and everything, and like all the different shaped and sized skyscrapers for like Kong to like run around, climb up, jump off of. Like, this is like the most beautiful setting, I think, that they in the MonsterVerse for a fight.
Yeah. I have to concur yet again. It's the whole lead up to it is like, okay, so Kong and Monarch are...
We didn't even talk about the atomic breath to the center of the Earth!
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. So they're in Hollow Earth. Kong has taken his throne, found his home, and Godzilla literally swims to shore to Hong Kong, which is very conveniently located right where the throne for Kong civilization is.
It is both where Kong is directly under and also where Mechagodzilla is. Over, sorry.
But I think that's because we haven't touched on this, like the whole Hollow Earth energy that the villains are trying to capture to siphon into Mechagodzilla to power him, like, whatever.
They send it in an email. That's another thing. They send the energy signature in an email. It's like, that's not how energy works. You can't email me a file of like a AA battery and I can stick that in my Game Boy. That's not gonna work.
I mean, it might sound like we're excusing a completely ridiculous movie.
We are.
It's not really excusing a completely ridiculous movie because, sidebar, and then I'll get back to the fight. When I watched the movie, I felt this way, and looking up fans' opinions online, they also felt this way. This is basically a Showa-era movie with a Hollywood budget. The Showa era was the first era from the 60s through the mid-70s of Godzilla. Mm-hmm. The longest era. And it's the one with the most overtly ridiculous, silly, nonsensical fantasy plots.
I'm not talking
watching this, I'm like, wow, this is literally like, if they had the technology back then in the 60s, this is what we would have gotten.
I said it before.
It feels that correct to the tone of those old movies.
I said it before. The line between ironic and sincere enjoyment is so thin. It's like, every stupid plot point that came up made me love this movie more. Because it's like, yes, absolutely, we're emailing an energy signature to the people who are making Mechagodzilla. I am absolutely on board with that stupid bullshit.
Yeah, and you could say, well, why do the villains, if they want to make a weapon to defend humanity against Godzilla, why do they make it look like Godzilla?
Because
well, I mean, if you're asking that question to begin with, then you're not in the right frame of mind to enjoy these movies.
You don't need to be watching Godzilla films at all.
You know what the answer is? Because they need Mechagodzilla. That's why.
This is a movie about a big monkey punching a big lizard. It's supposed to be stupid. Enjoy it.
So,
anyway, Hong Kong fight. Beautiful fight. What else do you want to say?
Godzilla swims ashore to Hong Kong. He feels the Hollow Earth energy that Kong activates with the axe that he finds. He uses his atomic breath to blow a hole through Earth to the Hollow Earth.
All the way to the Hollow Earth.
All just to scream at King Kong to be like, hey, bitch.
Get up here. We're finishing this.
And then it's like, oh, fuck, it's on.
And then Kong climbs all the way through the Earth's core to get
very fast, it seems. Incredibly fast. Yeah. Hundreds and thousands of miles, apparently. But, again, you know, suspension of disbelief is a must.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. He can goof fast.
And what ensues is probably some of the best kaiju action ever committed to film.
The best in the MonsterVerse. Like, I love King of the Monsters, and there's some great action sequences, but the Kong versus Godzilla fight is, like, hands down the best fight.
It's fast, it's brutal,
there's so much diversity.
Creative. There's so much diversity.
Between the way these two monsters move. Godzilla is a slow, lumbering force of nature that cannot be hurt, cannot be stopped, can blast you from halfway across the city. And Kong is this agile, clever monkey that jumps off of buildings, dodges down behind them. He does wrestler moves on Godzilla to, like, keep him from using his atomic breath. He, like, slams his knee into his throat at one point. They do it.
It's a wrestling match. It's a wrestling match and an MMA match mixed.
I love the homage to, like, the original Kong versus Zilla, where, like, he jams the tree down Godzilla's throat. Yeah, he does that with the axe, and it's so cool.
The axe, like, the way that the axe was like a focal point of the fight, that the fight kind of revolved around the axe. Stroke of genius. Like, yeah.
It can absorb.
It keeps everything so dynamic.
It absorbs Godzilla's radiation, so it acts as both like a weapon and a shield for Kong, which puts him on much more even footing. To the point where you're like, oh man, Kong might actually have this. Because before that, like, before he starts using the axe, it's like every hit he does on Godzilla is just like a temporary stun at most.
Yeah.
He's putting
he can't let up. If he lets up, then he's a goner.
Then he starts using the axe, and it's like, oh shit, he's actually like putting some scratches on Godzilla. He's actually like holding his own. He might do it. And it's a blast. I love also the shot where the people in the Hollow Earth come up with the ship, and they like fly up right next to Kong.
Yeah,
and it's like one of those. It's like one of those 4D rides at like theme parks where you're like, oh man, whoa, we're moving through this, but you're moving like between Kong's teeth, and then you dodge, dodge like around like the atomic breath as Godzilla's shooting it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest shots in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. They come up through the Hollow Earth, and like the way the gravity works, like they get sent into an uncontrollable spiral, and then like they correct it just in time to like just miss like hitting Kong right in the face. They fly through his mouth, they fly through a crumbling building, and then they have to just narrowly escape Godzilla's atomic breath, and then they fly down his back. It's like one of a 4D ride. It's like it has that immersive kind of spectacle to it where you're like, holy shit.
It's so fun. That whole fight is so fun from start to finish. It's just
and the fact that it's like sort of like a 2-tiered fight, because the first half of it, Kong kind of wins that round. There's even a line of dialogue. One of the characters like, looks like Kong won that round. He jumps, he's got the axe, it's absorbing Godzilla's atomic breath, and then it's kind of like a beam struggle-ish situation where like the power like cancels out and like blows him back.
Yeah.
Knocks Godzilla out for a second, knocks Kong away, and then Godzilla's not having that, so after he shakes it off, he's not fucking around anymore.
Oh, it's fucking brutal when he gets back up.
He moves so Godzilla, when Godzilla gets on all fours,
it's terrifying.
That's like a holy shit moment. He's going after Kong like a rabid dog.
He just starts scraping Kong's chest, and you just see these huge gashes, and Kong is just like on his back trying to get away as fast as he can, but Godzilla is just tearing him apart as he's moving away. Like,
and it's brutal, and you're scared. Like, you're like, oh god.
It's like, oh my god, he's gonna kill him right here. But he doesn't. He pulls
a bro move. Like, he's got his foot on his chest. Kong's down. He's like, oh, okay, how's it gonna go? What's gonna happen?
Godzilla roars in his face. Kong roars back in defiance as like a last act, and Godzilla's like, all right, respect, and just leaves him. Except he leaves him there to die because Kong was like so beat up after that fight. Like, he was beaten to shit, and he's just like laying on the ground unconscious for like a while after that.
Yeah, but I like that they didn't go all the way with making Kong, making Godzilla a complete monster. He had enough, can't say heart, I don't want to say heart, but like...
Game respects game.
Yeah.
he saw Kong was like putting up a fight. He was like...
He's not evil.
He's like, this guy's not going to he's never going to like bow like the other Titans did, so I'm just gonna beat him to shit and leave him here to die. Yeah. But I'm not
show him his place.
Yeah, I'm not gonna atomic breath him to death. But if he dies, he dies. Whatever.
And it's so bittersweet because like as a Godzilla fan, I'm like, yeah, he won, but I also love Kong. And then like Godzilla walks away, and then Kong like struggles. There's a little shot like where Kong just looks so real when he's struggling to like get on his feet. He looks so feeble and like he's shaking and like he can't do it because he's so weak, and it's just like you feel so bad for him in that moment, and he just collapses back down.
I have never been more endeared to a giant ape in a film. I can say that hands down. Most endearing giant ape. That Oscars for this year, giant ape award in cinema definitely is going to Kong. If Grape Ape gets it, I riot.
But it's not over yet, folks.
No.
Because Mechagodzilla has been activated.
Mechagodzilla!
And the ghost, essentially...
The ghost of Ghidorah. Of Kevin! It's of Kevin!
Is really fucking pissed. It is Kevin. The head was Kevin's head.
Okay, if people don't know this, the Godzilla fandom for King of the Monsters, for some reason, dubbed the left head of Ghidorah Kevin. And they say he's like this derpy idiot because there's a few shots in King of the Monsters. They do a good job of giving like each Ghidorah head a little bit of personality, and the left one's kind of like, hey, I'm just kind of derping around here. Like, oh, look, there's some guys here. It's not like too derpy, but the fans have really blown it up. And that's the head that is like the ghost of Ghidorah, and it's hilarious that like, oh, Kevin, you're the bad guy.
Yeah, on a meta level, it's endlessly hilarious that Kevin is the head.
I'm back, Kong. You'll take me, or I'm back, Godzilla. You'll take me seriously now.
And he should, because Jesus.
Oh my god, Mechagodzilla is so intimidating.
Godzilla, after putting Kong in his place, gets put in his place.
He gets an ass whooping.
He gets his ass. It's like a bar fight. Mechagodzilla and Godzilla, they lock eyes. Godzilla runs, books it. You've never seen Godzilla run this fast, run at all, really.
Yeah.
And he's booking it toward Mechagodzilla, and Mechagodzilla just wipes the floor with him. Like, he's slamming his head into buildings, tossing him around, throwing him over his shoulder. It's just like, as you just felt bad for Kong, now you're feeling bad for Godzilla because he's so outmatched.
He's got those big, like, grabby hands, too. It's not like the little,
clampers.
It's not like the little Godzilla arms. He's got, like, these big, like, four-prong, claw machine hands, and he just throws Godzilla around with them. And then they have the freaking, like, beam struggle, and, like, Mecha overpowers Godzilla and just, like, knocks him on his ass. It's so hardcore.
Yep, and this is when Kong gets his redemption. Throughout the Godzilla fight, the Monarch people that we've been following is trying to revive Kong because he's slowly dying.
They use a spaceship.
They defibrillate him with
a spaceship, with a magic spaceship.
With the magic ship they had to navigate Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
And Godzilla's pretty much down for the count until Kong comes to defeat Mechagodzilla because the little girl that he's connected to is like, okay, like,
he's the bad
Godzilla's
guy.
Bad, but Mechagodzilla's the real bad guy. Like, you gotta worry about that thing because that thing is out of control.
And Kong's just like, Jesus, fine, I'll do it.
life's the fuck, that's the fuck.
I mean, Godzilla almost killed me, and now he's getting his ass beat, but I guess I'll try.
Godzilla and Kong begrudgingly, they're like, okay, I guess we gotta do this together.
They do the team up, it's badass.
And then Kong beats Mechagodzilla with a badass finisher.
Oh my god, he takes the axe, cuts off each limb, and like it's not like a clean cut either. Like you see like Mechagodzilla like jerk and like oil and stuff spilling with each limb getting cut off. Like, it is, like, if it was a living creature, it would have been so brutal to see this thing get just
There's a lot of monster gore.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the ones in the Hollow Earth. There's, like, these bat snake things, and Kong just, like, grabs one and rips its head off and, like, starts eating the entrails.
The entrails. Yeah. They're called war bats. That is what they're dubbed.
War bats. They're pretty badass. But yeah, Kong gets the kill on Mecha G, sort of redeeming himself.
Rips Mecha G's head off. Because that's his thing in this universe, is just ripping heads off, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't really do the whole like jaw snap thing that he in like the Kong movies.
He tries. There's one little shot during the Hong Kong fight where he tries to pry Godzilla's mouth open, and I'm like, there it is. There's the jaw pry.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he wasn't gonna do it because he wasn't gonna kill Godzilla like that. But like, I kind of wanted to see. They've kind of done it with Godzilla in these movies. Like the spit in the mouth thing is kind of that with just an extra step.
Yeah, and as badass as that was in the first Godzilla movie, the finisher on Ghidorah in King of the Monsters is even more over the top.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, where he just, like, eats him and then atomic breaths the last head. That's badass. But Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, Kong wins against Mecha G with Godzilla's help. And then there's, like, this brief moment where you think, oh, shit, Godzilla's gonna get back up and kill Kong. But he lets him go, and I think it's kind of weird because there's no dialogue with these giant monsters, but what I think it is kind of implying is that Godzilla hated the axe because it's made out of like a Godzilla species dorsal fin, and then Kong kind of like throws the axe aside like, I won't use this anymore, which kind of like ends the blood feud between their races or something, and then Godzilla's like, fine, I'll let you live, and he leaves.
Pretty much how I interpreted it. There's like a moment where you think, oh god, they're gonna go at it again, guys, stop. But
and you're worried for Kong, because Kong is like terrified. Like he's holding the axe like, I'm ready to go another round, but like you can tell like he's on his last leg.
Yeah. He drops the axe and Godzilla's like, alright. And then he turns around and walks back into the ocean. And it ends, basically, they're both kings. Godzilla's the king of the surface. King Kong is king of the Hollow Earth. And it has a happy ending for Kong. He's just swinging around Hollow Earth, living his life.
Yeah, and he hangs out with the little girl and everything. Like, the Monarch people build a base down there to monitor him and stuff. Happy ending for everybody. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me concisely recap opinions. The movie's under 2 hours, which is really good. It keeps everything flowing real fast. It has the most action, probably, of the franchise so far. The human characters, there's nothing to them, but in a way, I think that's actually a benefit, because back to what I was saying about, the contentious kind of viewer relationship with, like, the human characters in these movies. I think kaiju movies are at their best when they use the characters as vehicles for exposition without slowing the plot down.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that here. The plot moves with the characters. The characters are moving with the monsters.
Yeah, the ones
something's
with
always
Kong,
happening. Something's always going on.
The ones with Kong are absolutely tolerable. Like, they're all tolerable at worst. Yeah. And the little girl actually has, like, a good, endearing relationship with Kong. I like her. She's like a deaf girl, so she only communicates through sign language with him, which is really cute. Like I said earlier, the ones that are just finding Mechagodzilla, like, it's like, I don't give a crap. Like, you could have just filled this in.
It's definitely the weaker story.
They also tried they tried to make a conspiracy theorist endearing, which in this day and age is like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, they don't do anything except be vehicles for exposition, which is fine, because you got to reveal Mechagodzilla somehow, but it is the weaker link. But I don't think it ever gets to the point where it's boring. It's just the weaker plot of the two.
They're there. They happen.
Yeah. And my biggest kind of peeve throughout the entire franchise is they just can't make the humor work.
Yeah.
Pretty much every movie, Kong Skull Island, I think, has some pretty good humor. But King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong both, they really try to go for some of that, quippy, fun. I hate to say Marvel humor because
it's Marvel-lot.
It's Marvel-lite. Like, people complain about any blockbuster having humor in it now is like trying to copy Marvel. It's like, Marvel didn't invent comedy, people. Like, not every movie's trying to be Marvel.
No, but like the smart aleck remarks from like every character is like a staple of the MCU at this point.
There is a Marvel-y-esque kind of tone to the humor in the movies that just doesn't land.
No.
Like, hardly ever.
These movies are a lot funnier when they're taking themselves seriously. The "I am completely sane" line in King of the Monsters is one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard, and it is meant to be a serious line from the villain.
Well, in that regard, I think Kong vs. Godzilla might be more successful because it's not really taking itself seriously so much as it is just having fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's not saying, like, okay, we're going to try to make this as palatable for people who want to pick apart the logic. That's not the goal. That's not what they're trying to do. Like, it's just like I said in the very beginning of this very long podcast, it throws these big concepts at you and says, here it is. And I hope you have fun.
Yeah.
And
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during, like, the pitch meeting for this. Just like them, like, coming up with every wild-ass idea they could think up.
Yeah, there's no, like, extended exposition scenes of, like, them explaining their tech or, like, explaining, like, the science of the Hollow Earth. Like, the closest they get is explaining the gravity. Like, they give you the bare minimum of exposition just so you understand what they're doing. And that's kind of admirable, you know? Like, in a way, because, like, it seems like a lot of movies that deal with more fantastical subject matters, like, they try to make it as palatable as possible for the audience so they don't go, whatever. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they either try and take it, like, way too seriously with their fantasy stuff, or they, like, try and, like, tone it, like, water it down too much, and this movie feels like the perfect amount of, like, no, here's a bunch of crazy fantasy stuff we came up with, have fun, enjoy.
And it works. There are things you can definitely critique it for, like we said, the humor just doesn't work. The Godzilla side of the human story is far weaker than the Kong side, but it's never too detrimental to the entertainment.
No, good film. Go watch it. Go see it in theaters if you're vaccinated. If
you're vaccinated and feel safe.
I wish I'd seen it on a big screen.
Yeah, because, like, we watched it at my place. I have a decent. I'm not trying to humble brag, but I have a decent home theater set up, and even on a decent size HD TV, like, I'm like, oh man, that was fucking awesome. I can't imagine what it would have been like seeing it in, like, IMAX.
Oh god,
like,
that'd have been crazy.
It would have been sensory overload.
I would have been gripping my seat during that, like, shot where we're, like, flying through the air past Kong and Godzilla. Like, that would have, like, I would have been like, oh shit, I'm here. I'm in it. Especially
with everything that's been going on in the world. Something so unabashedly just, like...
fun. Just fun.
Fun. Like, there's not a hint of, like cynicism in the movie. There's not, like, a sense of irony in the movie that's like, hey, we're kind of laughing at ourselves. It's okay to like this because it's, you know, it's just
enjoy
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just have fun.
Spectacle can be enough. You know, not every movie has to be like a narrative masterpiece. Just enjoy the big monkey punching the big dragon.
And it does have heart. Like we said, like, you really fall in love with Kong in this movie.
Kong's a great guy. I like Kong.
Such a good character. He's a good, then emphasis, character. He's a character in this movie.
Yeah. On a scale of 0 to 1 monkey, or no, 0 to 5.
0 to 1 monkey.
Yeah, 0 to 1 monkey. What would you give?
I'm going to be a little pretentious. I don't rate movies that way. Like, I don't do out of 10s or stars. I think that's kind of arbitrary.
Okay.
I talk about what I like. I talk about what I like, what I don't like.
See, I'm like the exact opposite. I like putting a number to everything in my life. For example, you are a 3 out of 10 friend.
Thank you, but you're still talking to me, so I guess that's got to be enough.
That's for the comments earlier that I've already forgotten why you offended me. Oh, it was the Rowlet thing.
Yes, it was the Rowlet thing.
You're a 10 out of 10 friend.
Aww.
And this movie gets a solid 4.5 out of 5 bananas from me.
Solid ass rating.
Does Kong eat bananas? What does Kong eat besides other monsters?
Well, he eats a giant octopus in Skull Island.
Oh yeah, that's another monster. Like, is he explicitly carnivore? Because gorillas are like mostly vegetarian.
They're omnivores, but they are mostly vegetarians. I guess
they eat like termites and stuff too, but like that's not meat.
I mean, I guess Kong's mostly a carnivore. I mean, he kind of has to be because he's so huge.
Has to be. I have 4 out of 5 bananas. 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 4 out of 5 I have something we could do. I mean, we've already run this long enough, but we could run it really long.
We're having fun. We could edit it down.
Yeah, we can edit it down if we feel like. I have a few reviews that I thought was funny from Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
We can do a little review. So,
okay.
Here's the good news. Overall, at least when I looked at the score, it may have changed since. The movie had 75% on the Tomatometer and a 93% audience score. So people were really liking the movie for like the first few days.
That's incredibly high.
Yeah, people really liked this movie when it came out.
And I don't put much stock in Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care about it at all, but it's still vindicating when something you like and you're a fan of gets met with approval. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, cool, I'm not alone.
Okay, so this review, these are all audience reviews. I didn't pick any critic ones because they talk too long. Unlike us here at this podcast where we talked for an hour and a half.
The irony!
It took us 30 minutes to get to the actual review of the film.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
This is from Hans C. Hans C. says, dialogue was written by a someone stuck in time. 2 stars. 2 out of 5 stars.
By a someone stuck in time.
I don't know what that means. Like, I was imagining more like somebody stuck in like the 1920s, like this Orville Redenbacher, we're going down to the old-timey place. Like,
but I think what this person is getting at is the dialogue maybe sounds old-fashioned or outdated.
I don't get old-fashioned. I
think that's their point, but I mean, if it is, I don't understand why he thinks that, but
I get maybe stilted, but like, what about it sounds old-fashioned? They're talking about like energy signatures and like...
Yeah, it's basic sci-fi speak.
Yeah.
It's mostly just technobabble.
It's all technobabble. None of it sounds like from a time... Unless he means like the person who was writing the dialogue was trapped in a time vortex and like was losing their minds as they were trying to finish... Like, you cannot escape the time vortex until you finish the script for Godzilla vs. Kong. Okay.
Okay, well that's a weird one-sentence review. On to the next one!
Let's see. Mudhole says... What I expected it to be, and maybe a bit less. Keep it simple, people. 2.5 stars.
That's interesting. I can kind of see where the keep it simple's coming from, because I think I said earlier that like the movie, the plot is convoluted, but also simple at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I think there's kind of there's some validity to that.
I really just picked it because his name was Mudhole.
Yeah, awesome name, dude.
Love you, Mudhole. I don't agree, but I love you.
Don't agree either. I think it's as simple as it could possibly be, to be honest.
What are you confused about? This is a nice segue. Google, they say, the action was great, but the story was confusing. I really didn't understand it. 3 stars. Which, if Google is confused, you know that's bad. If Google can't figure it out... Then
I don't want to make fun of them because we messed up some of the plot ourselves while talking about it.
But fine.
There's nothing to not understand. Like, if you go in it with the mindset of like, I'm gonna pick apart the plot, like obviously it's gonna fall apart immediately. But like, as that boils down to how you go into the movie,
mm-hmm.
if you let it grab your attention and if you let it suspend your disbelief. So, I mean, if you're going into it with like, hey, wait a second, this is silly. Obviously, it's not going to make any sense because...
the greatest sin a Godzilla film can make. It's silly. It's too silly for me.
Because obviously, for one, giant monsters don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
For 2, the Hollow Earth doesn't exist. For 3, giant megacorps like Apex in the movie don't have trans-global speed tunnels that go from like America to China.
Oh man! Another review. This one was pretty much what my opinion was before and immediately after seeing the movie. This is by Toasty Boy. Toasty Boy says, "Big monkey and lizard punch each other, and lizard has laser, and monkey has axe. Let's go! 5 stars." Toasty Boy knows where it's at.
Toasty Boy does know where it's at.
He knows exactly what he was in for. This one confuses me. Bill B says, visually it is perfect. The fight scenes were on point. If there was anything of merit remaining, it was all lost. All of it. 1 star.
See that?
It's like he was so hyped for it at the beginning, and there's just like a sudden like Godzilla must have killed his dad like halfway through the movie, because like he seems like he really fell off the train there.
That really took a left. That just took a left 90-degree.
Yeah.
I can't fault anybody if this isn't their cup of tea, because it is very silly.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very silly. It's very loud. It's very aggressive, but I don't get the mindset of like, I'll give it all this praise, but I'll still give it 1 star is too, like, that's too much. Like,
1 star is like, this movie actively offended me.
Yeah,
like this movie just like showed me a racist caricature of something. Like, that's 1 star reviews.
Like, even if I hate a movie, like, I try to find positives in it, even if the positives are just, hey, you know what? These guys went out and made a movie.
Oh, man.
Like,
you want me to bomb this whole podcast right now so that we'll never have anybody listen to it again? Or maybe we'll have tons of people.
I really don't.
You know what movie I would give a 1 star? Thor Ragnarok. Oh! That's right, people.
We'll put a pin in that, and we'll talk about that.
We're coming back to that. I have a lot of things to say about that, and people are going to get mad at us for those opinions. Let's do a couple more.
I just think if you have something as positive to say as like all the action and visuals are fantastic, but it's still 1 star. Like, be a little more forgiving.
Visually, it is perfect. And it gets a 1 star.
How is that not worth at least a 2 star?
Yeah, or 2.5. Yeah.
But he's right. Visually, it is perfect.
It is.
So.
It's beautiful, beautiful movie. Let's see. First L says, less loyal to the franchise than previous ones. Seems like they just did things to do things. 3 stars.
Oh, not the gatekeeping argument.
I'm more confused. First off, does he mean like the Godzilla franchise as a whole, or does he mean the MonsterVerse franchise?
I have no idea.
And second,
I have no idea.
Okay, everything that has ever happened is things just do things to do things. It's like, yes, that is how doing works.
I guess that's the way of saying that it felt trite. I guess, but the whole isn't faithful or whatever they said to the franchise. Like, I don't know what they mean by that. I don't know what they're comparing it to. Like,
Godzilla was 4 centimeters bigger than he was in the original Heisei era, and I didn't like that.
Man, nothing there. Nothing.
Let's see. This is a good finisher. This is from Sneak P. Sneak P says, imagine taking your life so seriously that you complain about the story in a movie called Godzilla vs. Kong. 3 stars.
There you go. Like, I really try not to be snarky.
That sums it all up.
About other people's opinions, but I mean, you have to have a certain set of expectations. Like, you kind of have to know what you're getting into with any movie, really. Like, not just crazy fantasy giant monster movies, but like any genre, any movie. You kind of maybe be aware of what kind of movie it is, and judge it on its own terms.
You don't come to Kong or Godzilla vs. Kong with like a steak dinner and a glass of wine, being like, "Let's see what this film has to offer me." You come in with like a big foam finger, a big monkey foam finger, and like a whole bunch of banana flavored popcorn or something, and you're like, big monkey, let's go, let's do." And that's fine.
It is a wrestling match. It is a sports event. It is a crowd pleaser. It is meant to appeal to the base.
It's spectacle
of your brain.
Spectacle's fine.
And there is nothing wrong. There's nothing negative about enjoying and appreciating spectacle, because it too is a form of art.
Absolutely. A lot of talent went into making this movie. Any final thoughts? Anything?
To 2, I would ask...
These are going to be the kinds of podcasts, people, that you listen to when you have to drive like across country.
Yeah,
These are not going to be like ride to work podcasts. These are the long. You're in here for the long haul.
First, let's say where we want the franchise to go after this, hypothetically.
First off, I just hope it goes. You know, there was a lot of concern about it ending here, which I would be fine, honestly, if it ended here. It's a great finale for this franchise. It would be a great finale
for it to end here. Yep.
But I would absolutely also love more.
Yeah, and judging by the surprise success that it's had at the box office, as well as streaming on HBO Max, apparently it is HBO Max's biggest premiere of anything so far. So, making a bunch of money during the global pandemic,
Fingers
and
crossed.
being a streaming hit, there's no way that Warner Brothers and Legendary are going to ignore that. They're probably going to be like, whoa, this is performing far better than we expected. We have to continue. So I feel pretty confident that we'll probably get confirmation that there will be more movies sometime in the next few months.
What monster would you like to see for the next Godzilla film?
Oh god, this could be a whole nother podcast, but I'll try to keep it concise.
Try and pick one if you could.
Lots of fans online, and I had this thought as well when I was watching the movie. Another Kong movie with him just being in the Hollow Earth fighting things in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be very cool.
It's kind of hard to picture the next Kong movie because like Kong doesn't have like a list of villains to fight. He doesn't like have a rogues gallery like Godzilla does. So like. They have a little more creative freedom there, but they also kind of like, oh man, we have to kind of figure out what we're going to pit him up against now that he's already fought Godzilla. Like, that was kind of the peak of what we could pit him against. What else is he going to fight that's going to have that same level of, like, tension and stuff? But
they could get really creative with it.
Yeah. Godzilla, I feel like there's, like, you could pick out plenty from his rogues gallery that would still be good movies.
So much they could still do with Godzilla. So I have to agree with the internet consensus, the fan consensus. A Kong sequel set in the Hollow Earth with Godzilla. People want aliens to be introduced because aliens are a big part of the Japanese franchise.
Get our space Godzilla.
Get our space Godzilla or our Gigan.
Even though you hate him.
I don't. Oh my god! Shut up. With Godzilla, I hate to just repeat what I've read on the internet. But, like, I can't think of anything better. Yeah, I want there to be an alien extraterrestrial component.
You know what I think would be real cool? I think Biollante.
Yeah, Biollante could come from the Hollow Earth.
Biollante could come from the Hollow Earth. The whole plant aesthetic could be, like, a whole different thing. It would be, like, a very different fight than what we've seen so far. I think there's a lot of room to, like, play around with Biollante as a villain.
Yep. I want Mothra to come back. I want Mothra to come back in some. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Get cinematic Marvel. Get Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC Cinematic Universe with it. Like have the character. Like have Mothra show up in the Kong sequel to fight with Kong, to fight alongside with Kong with some enemies, but not Godzilla. Like how cool would that be? Like like this classic iconic Japanese kaiju Mothra. Fighting alongside the iconic American monster without Godzilla around. That's interesting. The possibilities are endless.
I think if they bring Mothra back, they need to bring back the what's the evil Mothra called?
Batra.
I think if they do bring Mothra back, Batra needs to come in too, and then that needs. Heck, they could even just make that its own movie without Godzilla or Kong. You know?
I would love a solo.
Just make a solo
Hollywood Mothra movie. Hell yeah!
Solo Mothra versus Batra movie.
Yeah, I have to show you the '90s Mothra trilogy, the Heisei Mothra movies.
Yeah.
They're really the second one, but the first and the third one are great. They're more aimed at children. They're more childish, child friendly, but they're really fun, really creative. They got great fights, considering that the main monster is a big moth. The action is still great. So I'll show you those at some point.
Hey, Legendary, Warner Brothers, get on this. You need to get the rights to Gamera. I don't know what you're messing around for. Get the big turtle on the screen. Get the big turtle. I want to see Gamera so bad fight. Get a 3-way fight between Godzilla, Gamera, and Kong, and you're going to make 3 times the money you just made with this one.
As just orgasmically geeky as that is, and as awesome as it sounds, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Because if it's not going to happen in Japan between the two studios, Toho,
it's not going to happen here.
Yeah, like it's not going to happen here. They're not going to be able to get the licensing here. But if it happens in Japan at some point, then we could talk about it happening over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be fantastic. Or they could just create their own giant turtle monster.
It's true. Just knock him off. I mean,
named Tamara.
Tamara. She goes grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I want to talk to your manager, Tamara.
The possibilities for the franchise to continue are pretty much endless. They have a well of source material to draw from.
A lot of stuff they could do. I think that pretty much wraps it up for our first episode. Everyone, thank you for joining us, all 0 to 5 of you. Maybe we can talk somebody into listening to this.
If a single person listens to this all the way through,
it's a success.
I will be just incredibly happy, because putting up with us and our rambling, incoherent thoughts for how long has this been going on?
We're at an hour and 43, but granted, like the first 10 of that was trying to get like
damn near 2 hours. Yeah. You guys are.
You could have watched Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yes, you could have watched the movie. The amount of time it took us to talk about this. So thank you.
Well, I won't be happy until we monetize on this. I want people making animatics of us on YouTube. I want sponsors. I didn't do this because I enjoy talking about geeky stuff with you, Tyler. I did this for the money.
This is all. It's all just for that clout. We're chasing that paper.
So, hey, Warner Brothers, we talked about your movie for like damn near 2 hours. You better be sending us a check. Otherwise, I'm going to sue. I know you didn't like ask us to do this, but I did it of my own volition, and I demand you pay me.
See, this is the kind of stuff that's going to make people turn us off.
Nah. People love it when you get real antagonistic with them and your sponsors. People love it when you just get real mean.
You're going Godzilla on them right now.
I'm the alpha male. I'm going to atomic breath you. I'm going to eat a whole bunch of onions and breathe them down your throat.
All right, well, after all of that cringe.
Anyway, this has been Tongue and Geek. Thank you for joining us. And again, don't tell my mom.
Don't tell Isaac's mom.